You might know him as Moff Gideon. You might know him as Gus Fring. And very shortly, he's joining the MCU, and he's gonna be playing the Serpent King, Sidewinder. Get on your feet and make some noise for Giancarlo Esposito!
Good to be here. Good to be in Texas.
Yeah!
Always my favorite place to come back to, I tell you. I used
Yeah!
to live in Austin years ago, and I'm really kind of sorry I left. So I may be coming back real soon.
We would love that.
I would love it too.
I love Austin. I was telling these folks just yesterday that I've never had nothing less than just an incredible experience in Austin. For whatever reason, it's like a magical place.
It's a great town, but San Antonio, every time I come, it gets more and more cosmopolitan. More going on here with the River Walk and the Alamo and all the stuff you can do downtown, all the wonderful parades that go on here surrounding the cultural experience are extremely special and should always be happening.
Absolutely. Appreciate you saying that. It's an incredibly busy weekend because it is the weekend before Dia de los Muertos, and the hotel that you guys are staying at is everything's just happening going around there. So yeah, it's a great time. Welcome, sir. We're so glad you're here, and might I say, it's also extremely special because I don't know of anybody who's busier than you are in the industry. You are just, I don't know where you find the time to film so many projects, and also I feel like I told Ross Marquand this, you two probably do more conventions than anybody else, because like every weekend you guys are just flying all over the world. It is fantastic. You see Ross a lot, and you guys just like chit-chat.
I do. We pass each other in many a city around the world. You know, I do my con schedule many months beforehand,
Okay.
and I always try to figure out where the fans are.
Yeah!
And so it's a great experience for me to interact with the fans, especially this year when I have so many intriguing projects coming up, like Captain America 4. Also, one that you didn't mention is the Russo brothers' Electric State.
Yep.
It's going to be a big movie. And I think that the tempo movies that are coming out this year reflect where we're at in our contemporary society and are addressing it. And so the Russo brothers really addresses AI and robotics and drones and all of these kind of intellectual, computerized, technological advances that we have, and try to remind us to still be human, that can coexist if we use it the right way. And so I'm really happy to be a part of some of those stories that are advancing the technology, but are reminding us to not forget about our humanity.
Absolutely, right? I had the privilege of having a short conversation with Anthony Russo in San Diego this past July, and wonderful individual, just so down to earth and so friendly. Talk to us about how it is working with the brothers, because I feel like they're just a formidable duo. Like there's nothing they can't do.
The brothers Russo. You know, it's interesting because it's a reminder to me that you can't do anything alone. And that we do, no matter, even if it looks as if I'm on screen as a character and it's me bringing all of my creative prowess to what I do, there's a team of people that write, that do the scenic design, that do the lighting, that are behind the scenes, that are part of the family. And so working with Anthony and Joe is interesting because Joe will start directing in the morning and Anthony will direct in the afternoon. And I'm like, oh, this is really kind of fascinating. If it's something that's more action-oriented or technically oriented, one or the other will direct that piece of it because that might be their expertise. If it's something more creative and dramatic, the one Anthony will probably direct that piece of it, and they really collaborate in a beautiful way. And it reminds me of a little bit about how I like to work. I like to have ideas, bring everything I can to the character I'm playing, and be able to share those ideas, whether they're used or not. And the Russo brothers are very much like that. And then when we get in there and the lines are written, and they say, you know, you got something? You got something else you want to bring to it? And I say, well, I do. Try it. And I try it, and they say, wow, that works really well. I say, let's go in that direction. And that allows me to feel as if I'm collaborating on something that's bigger than just me. That's about extension of their vision and a collaboration of their vision and my vision. Because see, we're all individuals, right? So we all perceive things on different levels and different ways, because we hear things differently, and then we get ideas about them. And if you're allowed to process your ideas and share them, you're invited. And that invitation is important for us to remember as human beings. So when someone asks you, how do you feel about something? And if you have a burning desire inside and you're a little nervous about sharing it, I encourage you to share it, because it can enhance everything that you're doing.
Yo, better clap for that. I love hearing that. I love hearing stories of directors who are not just collaborative, but go out of their way to collaborate. Not very many directors, I feel like, do that in the industry, but I love hearing those stories. I'm gonna get to the nitty gritty. Cap 4, Brave New World. Who's excited for it? Sidewinder. Now listen, I don't want Kevin to be mad at me. I know he's got snipers somewhere in the rafters. So just please talk to us about working with this incredible cast. First, let's start with Anthony Mackie. I bet you guys are just a ball of fun, just riffing off one another, just having the time of your life on set.
Anthony Mackie has a great personality. He's a guy who is happy to be where he is. He's very pleased with his career. He's very confident in his own skin. He likes to enjoy himself and have fun, not so much where it's comedic or over the top or out of character or out of place. So he creates an environment as the star of Cap 4 that's comfortable. And don't you want to go to work in an environment that's comfortable, that's welcoming, that has you feel as if, you know, they're happy to have you? I go way back with Anthony to New York theater days where we, where we passed each other and did a couple of readings of plays together when he was an up-and-coming actor. And I should say that I'm very, very happy for his success. Even more so having worked with him on Cap 4, because he is still a delightful, honest, real, and truthful human being who drops into character like that, and we can be at odds with each other in a heartbeat and yet have fun in between the scenes. So there's a great synchronicity that we have together, and I can't say that that happens for all actors. So to be disarming in our everyday interactions with each other is to start with what works. You know, how often do we greet each other and we go, oh wow, I like your personality. I can talk to you. Or I like your hair. How often do we start with something that's complimentary, disarming, and welcoming with each other? And I think it's important, at least I know it is for me, because I want to work with people I really like. So Anthony's great, and you're right, Kevin Feige has eyes and ears everywhere. So be careful what you say. In creating this character, the way I like to work is I get presented with something. And that something, that character, whether it be Gustavo Fring, Moff Gideon, or Sidewinder, Seth Volker in Cap 4, that character, that entity, that human being has a background, right? That it has a history that is there and written before I've joined and taken up that persona. Right. So I go backwards.
Yeah.
You know, I go back to the comics. And I look and I see, okay, what did Sidewinder look like? What does he think like? What was his history? Oh, you know, he was a good guy before he was a bad guy. Oh, he was a chemical engineer. Oh, he worked for this big company. What happened?
Yeah.
And I start asking questions. What happened to him? What changed him? What events in his life made him become who he is now? And how does that inform how I play the character? What is he wearing? What does he look like?
Right.
And so that can lead you in two directions. You can try to mimic what the character looked like, or you can take it further. And of course, in this, I knew that Kevin's vision was to ground this movie, right? We think of superhero characters, we think of comic books, and everything can be a little bit over the top. And you can try it that way. And then you look at it and go, does this work or does it work? Does it work? Will the fans relate? Or do we need to then ground the movie in something that's a little more real that they can relate to? So I jumped into the movie late, and I looked at all the material, and they invited me to have ideas. And I said, I want to do this, this, and this. I have this idea a little bit for the costume. I have this idea for his attitude. I have this idea for his makeup and what he looks like, but I want him to be this underneath it all. And they loved it. And it's being directed by Julius Ona. Yeah, who's a wonderful director who came up in studying with Spike Lee, a South African, European, African-American young man who has a vision. And so I feel really confident that you guys are gonna love this movie.
We're not going to get off this topic until I ask you about Harrison Ford. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
How incredible is it to be sharing the big screen with a legend like Harrison?
It's most certainly wonderful. You know, when you grow up with someone that you watch and you study and you look at his physicality, his dramatic acting style, his vulnerability, you wonder what stories this man have to tell. And he certainly has quite a few stories. He's comfortable in his own skin. He's really happy to be a part of the MCU and happy to be working. I mean, he's not a young man, but he has, you know, I tell myself every day I'm 27 years old, right? Because it's in here. And certainly when you see Cap 4, you're gonna go, he is 27 years old. But Harrison Ford is an interesting guy who he has a very presidential quality.
Sure does.
So what better role could he be playing than the president with some twists?
Oh my gosh.
And you've seen a little taste of that twist.
Yep.
And I think you're gonna see a little more when you see the film.
Y'all ready? All right, you got so many projects, and we're gonna get to fan questions in a minute, I promise. But you, sir, as Stan Edgar, finally made a return to The Boys. Any fans? We waited long enough. How thrilled were you to come back to this zany TV series?
This show is like no other. One of the things that drew me to it when I ran into Eric Kripke in Toronto when I was shooting another show called Jet, and he took 3 steps back and he scratched his head and he looked me up and down. I said, Eric, I know what you're thinking. And he said, well, if you know what I'm thinking, would you? And I said, Eric, I want to work with people I like, and you're one of my favorite people. One of the most creative writers, you come up with new ideas, and I said, of course I would. And that led to me doing a guest spot, and then doing a few more, and then them asking for me to come back every single season. It's been a joy to be a part of this show. One of the things that attracted me was that this show is about superheroes with human emotions. Well, what do I think about all of you? You're all superheroes. Whether you know it or not, you're not what you think you are. You're really superheroes, you're superhuman, not only in your physicality, but your psychology, your intellectual prowess. If you think of yourself as advanced, you are, and you should be. And you can achieve anything you want to do in your lives. Dream it, and it will come true. Attract it to yourself, and it will come true. That has been my life. So that's the reason I wanted to do this show, to be a part of someone who represents corporate America and understands human beings as Stan Edgar does. It allows you to see why he's not afraid of Homelander, because he understands human nature. He understands that Homelander needs something from him. He needs approval. What do I tell my 4 daughters? Approve of yourself. Stamp yourself worthy. attract that attention to yourself. They go out with the wrong men. They break up. They wonder why. I said, you're choosing an unavailable person. Look at yourself first. My second daughter's getting it. She says, love yourself first, and then you'll get into the perfect relationship, because you'll find someone who loves themselves too. So, Stan Edgar sees a lot in humanity and people, yet he's a corporate and company guy. And he tells Homelander, you are not a god. You are simply bad product. I mean, I love this guy. He's not afraid the guy's gonna laser him, because he knows Homelander needs a father figure. We, in our lives, believe it or not, we need to have order. We need to feel supported. We need to feel safe. Well, who can supply that order for us? It may have started with your parents. It could extend to people who really love you, people who are really your friends. But it starts with you. How do you create order in your life? Well, you create good habits. You know, you have prayer time, you have meditation time, you have take care of me time, and then you have dream time. And dream time is not the time that you only just dream about what you want to attract to yourself, but you actually put those dreams into fruition. And that means time, right? What you put in is what you get out. If you take 10 minutes today to develop your tomorrow, you're welcoming your tomorrow to come in the visionary way that you want to see it. Not what your parents want for you, not what your friends want for you, but what you want. But you have to put in that time to develop it, to put it into the universe. We're all energy. That's what we are. We're energy. If you didn't know that.
Amen.
We're energy. And you invite that to come to you by asking. So what I do is I write things down. I speak things aloud. I envision them in my mind's eye, and I see them coming to me. So Stan Edgar tells Homelander, he says, you know, basically, you think that we are a superhero company. It's like many things in life. You see something one way, but it's really another. We're not a superhero company. We're a pharmaceutical company. That's where we extend ourselves. And he has this whole speech where he tells them where the company came from, what the origins were, and why it's here. So we sometimes live in our dream world to think things are one way because we would like them to be that way. But this world can be very harsh. And until you see it for exactly the way it is, then you can sort of go, oh, I can be a part of this world in this way. I don't want to be a part of this world in this way, that way, or the other way. And so we can create the road that we want to travel through our thoughts and, even more importantly, through our actions. Yep.
Welcome to the church of Giancarlo. I love it. For some of you guys, this is the second time you've been here. We got a question from Jeff C. Jeff, where you at, sir? See a hand way back there. Jeff would like to know, despite the many villainous roles you've played, when I have seen your con panels, you are so inspiring and positive, and it's impacted me so much. Are villain roles just more fun, or would you like to play more roles closer to your own personality?
No! I'm an evil motherfucker! Jeff, thank you so much for the compliment. I've got to be myself, and I have this saying, be yourself, love yourself. Be true to yourself. That was told to me many years ago when I did a film called Taps by George C. Scott. And I feel like the villain is a complicated human being. And I feel like I'm just working through my own karma by playing villains at this time in my career. Sort of working through some of my childhood trauma, some of the things that affected me when I grew up in terms of authority figures and people telling me what to do. You can't lead unless you can follow. You can't lead unless you can follow. And for me, I had to learn how to follow. I was in military school. I almost went into the army. I wanted to be a priest for a while, but I got disillusioned with the Catholic Church. I still go to churches all over the world, but I follow that religion and also meditate as well in the way that I see fit for me. And so I've made some courageous choices in my own life because I think God is goodness. And I think religion suppresses the people. And I think we've got to find a way to live in goodness with each other. But I got some good guys up my sleeve, baby. They are coming. Specifically and especially someone, as you'll see in Electric State, who is in many ways a hunter and who starts out with a certain set of beliefs, right? So some of us hold, including myself, some rigid beliefs. And when you hold some rigid beliefs, it doesn't leave room for you to expand and understand someone else's story, because your rigid belief is stopping you from hearing someone else who has a different belief. And they have that belief because they've lived it. So my character, Electric State, has a great transformation, which you will see toward the end of that movie, because of his experience in this moment. How can we hold on to our rigid beliefs for our whole lives when something happens in this moment that was specifically designed and meant for us? And it's begging us to hear. How do you close the door on that experience? When you have the experience in your life that changes all of how you've thought before, I think it begs us to honor it, look at it, and then look inside. So my biggest challenges are with myself. All the bad guys I play, I'm challenging myself to grow, and that good guy is finally emerging.
Yeah. Every time we have this conversation like this, I'm always taken back, and I know that personally, my beliefs in spirituality, not necessarily religion, but my spirituality came from my godparents, and so I had sort of other parental figures in my life. But I'm wondering, did you have someone like that, or did you have a mentor in the industry that kind of helped you cultivate your own personal beliefs?
I think I've been a seeker for a long time, and my father was an agnostic. He was born and then baptized in the Roman Catholic Church, and he at a very young age was disillusioned and just went the other way and didn't believe in God at all. And I can understand that when you have an experience that taints you or traumatizes you. My mother was on the other end of the spectrum. You know, she wanted to be a reverend, which just means she wanted to have power in many ways and be a leader, and was connected to the religiosity of it, but not the spirituality of it. That was a part of it for her, but that wasn't the part that really drew her as it's drawn me. And so I realized that we're all different. We're unique in being different. And we have to find our own ways to worship the goodness and grace of the universe that's embracing us. And so I call it the goodness of all things, right? The goodness of all things is my representation of the goddess and the God that guides us. And so I didn't have many mentors other than the Catholic priests who said one thing and did another. Right? Many of the times, who beat me when I was in military school and made me stand for hours with all the other cadets. And so it was a way to suppress you, to have you believe. But I wanted to believe just because I believe in humanity. And I believe that humans are intrinsically good. And I believe that they want the best for each other if they're only able to look outside of their own selves and really see each other. So I'm convinced that we want to be seen. And part of why I speak like this is because I want you all to know that I see you. And I ask you to see me.
I had a number of people ask me before this weekend started, who are you most excited to talk to, or which panel are you most excited for? And I told a lot of folks, Giancarlo, And they said, why? And I said, because he's gonna bring something that nobody else will. And now you guys are experiencing this, you're hopefully taking a lot of this home with you. Question, no name here, but who do you believe would be more difficult to manage? Walter White or Homelander? Great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'd have to go with Homelander. I mean, Homelander, and here's why. Homelander is a big kid, and I recognize myself in him because when I don't get what I want to just go, ah! And that's how you feel when you're stuck in your childhood of no one hearing you, embracing you, caring for you, and loving you. And that's a dangerous place to be because things come out of that lack that are dangerous. Walter White at least has a little more intellect and feels like maybe he can control his feelings. Maybe not. But I'd be more afraid of Homelander because he's a loose cannon.
Which leads me to my next question, Better Call Saul. You guys watch that one? I'm sure, like me and like many folks, we were all thinking a spin-off to one of the greatest TV shows of all time, Breaking Bad. How do you even attempt to create another show and that would be compared automatically to Breaking Bad, which is iconic in itself? But I strangely found myself loving Better Call Saul more. It was just so intense. It was so dramatic. The writing was insanely just creative. And you, sir, as Gus Fring, you had battles with Tony Dalton's Lalo Salamanca, and they were just incredible. It's amazing seeing two villains, not hero versus villain, but seeing two villains battle wits against one another. Just reflecting on the entire show, how fulfilling was that entire experience, and what else do you take away from that?
It was really fulfilling for me. I was really hesitant about going back to Better Call Saul because I really thought that Gus Fring was the perfect character, and I didn't know what else to bring to it and didn't want to taint it. And then I had ideas and I asked to speak to Vince, and Better Call Saul is really the brainchild of Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould. Peter Gould was the one who ran the show, and it's a more intimate look at a relationship, between Saul and Kim. And so when I realized that they'd be very specific, it's important to be specific about what you ask for in your life, what you write, what you put into the universe, and they were very specific about their writing. And I thought the writing was excellent. In regard to working and having two villains, Lalo Salamanca and Gustavo Fring, face off with each other, that started back in Breaking Bad with the chiller scene.
Yes.
And so I have to say that things come out of chemistry. Friendships, relationships, partnerships come out of a chemistry that is irreplaceable. And in that scene, I had met Tony Dalton. I was a fan of his, but when he came into that scene smiling and looking around at the chiller, and Gustavo was very affable, and he's asking his questions, there was a lot underneath and in between the lines that Tony was displaying. And in all my answers, I was giving that right back to him. So it was like you were getting a whole library of thought with a simple line. And I looked at this guy, and I wanted to start laughing because we were playing tennis.
Yes. Or chess.
Or chess. And it was an amazing game. And I know the writers saw that because we had this chemistry. And I thought, what a great way for him to approach his part of the scene. And I had to completely disarm him, have him trust me, and all my answers had to be very convincing about this chiller and the chicken. And to allow him to know that the chicken was what it was all about, when it really wasn't about that at all. And so that was the beginning of them seeing that they had an opportunity to write for two villains. So Better Call Saul for me was a face-off with Lalo Salamanca, and my opportunity as Gustavo Fring to be vulnerable. Like, one in life, how many people can we really be vulnerable with? We're expected to be strong all the time, but that's not really who we are as people. We can be strong, we can be vulnerable, we can be sad, we can be happy. When do you get a chance to display all that? And when you show those emotions, who is accepting of that, right? Especially for us men. We're supposed to control the chaos and be the stronger and all of these different things. And I have 4 daughters who taught me that being soft is okay. Being warm is okay. Being nurturing is okay, right? That's all of who we can be as men, as well as being the hunter-gatherer, guys who go out and provide. As Gustavo says, a man provides. So Saul, to me, was an incredible experience. And as we moved through it, you saw Gustavo become more and more nervous about his life. You saw him strap a gun on his ankle. You saw him really worried whether or not he was going to survive. And so Tony Dalton, Lalo Salamanca was a really incredible foil, all the way up until the final moments where one bests the other. That was alive. And what do we want to be in our lives? Why do I love acting? Why do I love acting? Why do I do it? Because anything can happen, right? And that's the same thing for our lives. Anything can happen. You have to understand that, you can be in poverty today and a millionaire tomorrow. It depends on you and the choice you make, right? And some of us think those choices are out of our control. With Gustavo, in this particular show, he didn't know what was going to happen, but he was fighting for his vision and his dream, and he knew that in the end he would win.
Yep. This next question comes to us from Chris Martinez. Where are you, sir? I'm assuming you're still here. There he is, over there. Out of these villains, which is your favorite that you have played? Gus Fring, Moff Gideon, Sidewinder, or El Presidente, Anton Castillo?
Paradise comes at a price. This is a common question, and I'm not avoiding it when I say I love them all. They've all come at a different part of my growth and existence, not only as a human being, but as an actor. There are some that the experience was more childlike with Moff Gideon, because I was playing in a room full of cameras, and I had a chance to really be a guy who he can work his own magic. Like, you ever wonder why? Assume I know everything. Why he has an intel network. You ever wonder why and how he can fly his own TIE fighter or use the dark saber? Never explained, but that's fun. So I had fun with that part of that character. So one of my favorites. Gustavo Fring, one of my favorites. I developed a new way of working. I clued into my breathing practice, my yoga practice, to be measured and hold things close to the vest, to be able to give a very stern look and look right through someone. How I did that was I was looking inside. I was looking right inside my own soul. I took my time to answer questions. I developed a whole new way of developing a character with Gustavo Fring, and that was a choice that I made, and they saw and kept writing for it. Stan Edgar I absolutely love because he has no fear. He has no fear whatsoever. And he is a corporate company man who's extremely rich, and he knows human nature. And ultimately, he's one of my favorites because he looks enough to see and read the room. He can read a person. He knows what to say. He knows how to manipulate. He knows how to get it done his way. So another one of my favorites as well. And then Sidewinder, well, you're gonna see that come to fruition very soon. He's just very simply a badass.
We got a question from Patrick. Patrick, where you at, sir? Oh, right over here. He would like to know, what advice would you give to an older person on entering into the field? And he says as well, thank you for always bringing menacing to the screen.
I think for any of us, we take on a vocation in our lives, and we put 4 years of college into it, and we put a lot of attention on it, and then we get there and we're doing the gig, and it's perfectly fine, but it's not really exciting us or moving the needle. But we chose that, and so we stay there. And I think that we should not stay there. I think that many of us have more than one career. I think that, change is good. And I think if you're entering into what I do late in life, you have a chance to make it if you dedicate yourself to the craft. and you go and take some theater courses, and you go and you audition and you read everything, and you truly develop your inner power and your inner character to be able to facilitate and manipulate words, and then you put everything else in between on it, and you go and do it. If you love it, right? To love what you do is to never work a day in your life. And if you choose something that doesn't make you happy, well, you chose it. You have to look first at what you learned from it, and then give it up and move in a different direction. In our world today, we have online courses, we have college, we have experience, we have things that you can do to jump in and just do it. And you should be happy and satisfied with what you do. It's not attached to the amount of money you're gonna make, although as we get older, we have responsibility, right? I got 4 daughters, I'm a divorced man who is raising his kids, so that's responsibility. So then you're tied to have to create an economic machine that takes care of your family. So while you're young, remember this. If you choose something and you think, oh, I don't know if I like this now, but I did all these things and it took all this time, well, honor that, honor what you learned from it, and move on to something else that makes you truly happy.
This is a fun question. No name here, but how does it feel to be in Fortnite?
You know, it's monumental, I'm told. Everyone comes to me and, oh my God, you're in Fortnite. Oh my God, you're in Fortnite. It's a big deal. It's funny, you know, in yoga, they say in the philosophy, and I'm just remembering this from a lot of the yogic writings and philosophies, no pleasure, no pain, right? So everything is kind of the same. And I used to always think, oh man, that means I'm not going to enjoy my life. It's just kind of going down the middle of the road. It affected me in a way that because the fans are so excited, and because I didn't know a lot about Fortnite, of course I'm excited and honored that my character Moff Gideon would be invited. And I realize every day in every con that I go to, what a big, huge deal that is. And so I'm grateful. In the end, it's gratitude, it's excitement. You know, I live in a world of wonder, enchantment, and joy. And if you don't, I invite you to come on the train because it's a good place to live.
Yes, sir. No name here, but your role in Usual Suspects is never mentioned. Can you tell us more about what it was like getting that role as Jack Baird?
Yeah, you know, Chris McQuarrie sent word to me that he wanted to be in his movie. He explained to me his father was an FBI agent and that I reminded him of his father. And I went, wow, okay, so I think Chris is from Virginia or somewhere, and he's a white boy, and his father's a white guy. He said, no, it's your attitude, it's who you are, it's how you deal with any given situation. So I read the script, I was at Cannes, Robert, a producer, gave it to me, and one day, on the first day of my arrival, and I was really exhausted from getting off the plane, but I stayed up all night and read it. He said, I have the money, I have the cast, and Chris would really like you to do this movie. And I read it, and I told the truth. How often in life do we tell the truth? Like, honestly tell the truth. So on the next day, did you read the script? I said, yeah. He said, what'd you think? I said, I didn't understand it. He said, excuse me? I said, I don't get it. I didn't understand it. I mean, I understand what happens, but he said, okay, look, read it again. I said, okay, I'll read it again. I saw him the next day, this is the producer, and he looked downtrodden and sad. I said, what happened? He said, I lost all the money, I still have the cast. Did you read it again? I said, yeah, I read it again, and now I get it. He said, good, we want you to do the movie, let me try to see if I can get the money. 7 days of Cannes, I saw him on the 6th day before the last day. I got the money again, we want you to do the movie, we can't pay you anything, we have a great cast, will you be a part of it? I said, sure, give me a chocolate bar and I'll do it. I talked to Chris McQuarrie, and again, my ideas were welcome. This is a movie that's almost 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And I did a scene in San Pedro where I had to come in and solve this whole the opening of the movie, a big crime had happened, the boats in the harbor in San Pedro in California, and the script said, he looks up, he looks around, he's smoking a cigar. No, I added the cigar in the hat, and he goes into a restroom. So I look, and the only restroom closest to me on that pier was a women's room. And without hesitation, I walked right into the ladies' room. And the director, Bryan Singer, and Chris McQuarrie, the writer, absolutely loved it. Because I stop, I look up, you see the woman's sign, and I go right in. I don't care, I gotta take a piss. And they were so excited, they say, this is that guy. This is who this guy is. Necessity is the mother of invention. It's right there, he goes in. So this experience on this movie was really great. I worked with, of course, Kevin Spacey. I worked with Chaz Palminteri, the Baldwin brother. I mean, everyone was so great. But the wonderful lesson I took away from the movie was Benicio del Toro.
Yep.
Love Benicio. We came into a rehearsal and he goes, I was like, what is he saying? I'm like, that's a brave choice. But I learned that's what acting is. And everyone was I had no scenes with Benicio, but all his scene partners were like, this guy's out of his mind. Is he really gonna talk like that? And Benicio's like, yeah, who's like that? And it worked. And I went, Benicio, you're brilliant. What a choice to make. This is the choices we want to make in our lives. Choices that you wouldn't think that would be ordinary, but it comes out of your dream and what you believe. These are the choices you have to make. They're bold. I had a friend in Ireland, Paul Davis, God rest his soul. He trained dogs, he trained birds for the hunt. He was the original Irish expatriate, and he'd look at his dogs when his dogs would jump on the couch, and he wouldn't scold them right away. He'd look at them and go, that's very bold. That's very bold. Get down. And I never forgot it. You want to be very bold. You want to be that bold about the choices you make in your life, because those are the choices that will change is good, change your lives for the good forever.
I believe there's a quote that is related to that. Fortune favors the bold, right?
Sure does.
From Gary. Gary, where you at, sir? Right over there in the middle. What was it like working with the all-star cast and Spike Lee in Do the Right Thing?
Oh my gosh, I love this movie. You know, we didn't know what we were doing. Spike had a vision, but the rest of us were like, oh, what does he want? What's he trying to say? It was a very turbulent time in New York City. Spike is a very provocative director who wanted to make a change in our society and the way we looked at each other. And so I give him complete credit for his guidance on this movie. I played a very bold character in Buggin' Out who had a little information, and that little information for him went a long way for him to become an advocate for the black man without really even knowing what that meant. But for the first time in his life, he could stand up for something. This movie changed the way we made movies, and Spike and Ernest Dickerson, the cinematographer, really had a vision for displaying how hot it was that summer. And the backdrop was political unrest in New York. And to have a community that was just evolving, Bed-Stuy, being on a block in Brooklyn where we kicked all of the drug addicts out, 2 families were left, and we had a Hollywood set in Brooklyn, was a visionary and very bold move on Spike's part. And then couple that with electrifying music that allowed us to further feel the energy of what was happening then. This is a movie that still and will continue to be a classic for many years to come.
Amen. All right, lightning round. Aiden wants to know, did you ever think about stealing the Darksaber?
Heck yeah! They had 1 million people watching me and I couldn't get it out of there.
Final question comes to us from Deborah Tinsley Pledger, the Jedi Master of Science. I think that's her. What inspired the character Moff Gideon?
For me, the inspiration was to look at other Moffs like Peter Cushing, who was very graceful and very intelligent and held close to the vest, but what he didn't do, I wanted to do. I wanted to fly my own TIE fighter. I wanted to wield my own dark saber. I wanted to be the power. And that power came from the inhabitation of Darth Vader by James Earl Jones. We love you, Jimmy!
Thank you so much. I knew this would be absolutely fulfilling in San Antonio. He brought it like he always does. Y'all make some noise for the one and only Giancarlo!